BionicDance is filmed in front of a live studio audience.
All right. Hey, everybody out there. Here's Cornelius Jones coming at you again, and we are continuing defending the faith. We are continuing our discussion with our atheist community.
What the hell is it with theists filming in their cars? Why do so many of you do that? Is it part of that Jesus take the wheel shit or something? Stop being a car theist. Oh, and vertical video? That's a paddling. You takes your phone, you turns it like this. You're not making a phone call when you're taking video. Stop that. Let's do this. Greetings, fellow space travelers. BionicDance here. Our friend is going to try to tell us atheists what we don't know about his God. Problem is, we already know what he's going to say. We've heard it all before. This is nothing new. He just doesn't seem to see the problems with what he's going to say, the implications of how he describes his God.
So let's get started. What is it that atheists don't understand about God? Well, you see, one of the common complaints I've heard, atheists say, they're saying, if there is a God and this supposed God is supposed to be so all loving and all kind and loving, why would he throw someone in hell to suffer for eternity just because they didn't believe in Jesus Christ?
Well, yeah. Allegedly, a loving God creates a universe, allows his creation to become tainted, does not a scrap of anything to correct his mistake, then hides himself so that all we have to go on is an ancient book that has been run through many, many translations, making it reliability suspect and the dubious word of that book's fan club. And somehow from that, we're supposed to believe in your God enough to play along. Do you really not see how that might be just a little bit fucking difficult?
There is enough evidence to believe beyond a reasonable doubt that Jesus existed.
Bullshit. No, there isn't. But even if there was a dude named Jesus who made a lot of inspiring speeches, what we don't have evidence for is the campfire stories about his magical powers. And Jesus isn't some special case. Humanity has come up with a double-wide buttload of legendary characters who could poof, zap, and raise. And we don't have any evidence for that either. And your religion is in competition with all of those for which one is true, if any is. And all you have on your side is popularity, not facts.
Now, we maybe can't prove it, but you don't need proof. You just need enough evidence beyond a reasonable doubt.
Obviously, we have a different idea of what constitutes a reasonable doubt. I haven't seen your religion meet the standards of anything else we've decided needs proving. So clearly, the needs of doubt have yet to be fulfilled.
We know Jesus Christ existed because people who lived with him, walked with him, wrote about him.
So, how do we know those people were real? Plus, research has indicated that those writings came decades after the events they're alleged to describe, and there is doubt about who wrote them. This is not evidence. We're gonna need something more real. You can't use the Bible to prove the Bible. That's like trying to say that Lord of the Rings is true because you've read The Hobbit.
We wouldn't know anything about George Washington if there were no records, if there was nothing at all written about him. We wouldn't know anything about Abraham Lincoln. We wouldn't know anything about these people had not there been any documentation about their lives.
Documentation is not enough. Anybody can write a story, and stories can be gotten wrong, exaggerated in the retelling, and the heroes and villains might be reversed depending on who is doing the telling. What you need is a source of evidence from outside the writings, corroborating evidence, like artifacts, things which can be tested, carbon dated, verified. Hard data, not just stories.
The point of this video is answering the questions. Why would Christ do that? Why would Christ throw someone in hell because they didn't believe? Well, I'd like to answer this question with a brief illustration.
Okay, Cliff's Notes time. He's gonna tell a story about how he was a kid playing in the mud. His mom told him to take a bath because there were guests coming. He didn't, so she made him eat in his room. The story goes for 2 minutes that feels like 20. If you really want to hear it, there's a link to his video in the description like usual, but I just figured I'd give you the gist.
Now, here's the question. Why did my mother send me away? Why did she send me upstairs? Is it because I didn't take a bath? No, it's not. You see, my mother did not send me away because of something I didn't do. She sent me away because of what I did do. I was filthy dirty. I was sent away because I was filthy.
In this analogy, his mom is obviously supposed to be God, and the mud is sin, yada yada. But there are 3 major problems with this story. First, he chose to play in the mud, but according to Christianity, we're born filthy. We start with sin. Second, his punishment was neither torture nor eternal. It was annoying and finite. Third, and most of all, he knows his mother exists. He doesn't feel her in his heart. He doesn't hear her in his head. He hears her with his ears, sees her with his eyes. He can record what she says with his phone and play it back for other people to hear. This entire scenario hinges on us knowing that the entity giving commands and setting standards is real. And we don't have that for his God. This analogy stinks.
You see, God is not punishing anyone for what they did not do via come to faith in Jesus Christ. He is punishing us, or you, or whoever, because we are guilty of sin.
So prove I'm guilty of sin. Prove that sin is even a thing. Prove your God is real so I know that any of this even matters. You see? Again, all of this requires knowing that your God exists. The God who, if he's real, is playing a very obnoxious game of hide and seek. So even if we're not being punished directly for not believing, it's certainly a step that leads to that punishment. A loving God who wants us to not be filthy would stick his head out of the clouds once in a while and say hello. This is what you believers don't seem to understand about your religion. You give us all of these reasons why our need to see God in person has nothing to do with which afterlife takes our ticket, and you don't seem to listen when we tell you why it has everything to do with it.
So you see, God does not send you to hell because you didn't believe in Jesus. No. He sends you to hell because that's what you deserve. That's what I deserve. That's what every human being on the planet deserves, because God is so holy.
We deserve eternal torment. Really? Think about that for a minute. Seriously, think about it. Name for me a crime, any crime, that really, truly deserves hell, where being tortured forever evens the scales, where that is justice. And no fair pickin' Hitler. You know your religion promises hell for less than that.
Okay? Another example. Let's say you have some men, they're out on a boat, and they're, let's say they're fishing or whatever, but they're out there in the deep waters, and somehow they have an accident out there, and there's a hole in the boat, and the boat is quickly filling up with water. Well, here comes a rescue boat to get the guys and get them safe. Well, everyone gets in the rescue boat except for one man. You see, this one man saw the guy coming in the rescue boat, and he despised this man. He hated this man. And his pride would not allow him to be saved by someone he hated. And so he said, you know what? I'm good. I don't need anything from you. I'm going to stay in this boat. I'm going to try to swim. I'm going to try to make it on my own.
This is another one of his interminable stories. But we can stop it right here. Do you really think that atheists hate a God they don't think exists? Don't get me wrong, your God is a dick. You don't have to read too much of the Bible to figure that out. But of course, most of the gods humanity has come up with are vengeful, murderous, petty assholes. Not just yours. Still, this story has a guy who hates a guy that he knows actually exists. Maybe he was being an idiot for not being rescued, but he can see the damaged boat. He can see the rescue boat. He can see the guy driving it. Atheists aren't refusing your religion out of pride. You have done a lousy job showing us that your religion is more than a fairy tale. Just like every other religion, yours isn't a special case.
Now, at the end, when you die, it's not because you did not receive the rescue. That wasn't why you died. You died because of your own brokenness, your own sin. That's why the man in the boat died. He died because his boat was filling up with water. That's why he died.
Okay, genius, but was that his fault? Why was his boat filling up with water again?
Somehow they have an accident out there, and there's a hole in the boat.
An accident. Not someone doing something offensive, not somebody misbehaving. They just had something happen to them, and it may not even have been something they could have prevented. And if we follow this analogy further, nobody sent a rescue boat. They sent a submarine, and it never even surfaces. They don't get to know that it's there.
If we were not guilty, we wouldn't need Jesus. And that's what many atheists don't understand. You don't understand that you're guilty.
No, see, we do understand. We've heard it all before. We just don't agree. If anybody here doesn't understand, it's you. You don't understand that none of what you say matters until you've proved God is real. That has to come first. You don't understand us until you can begin to see why having that proof is absolute and non-negotiable and shape your arguments to fit. None of your religion will ever mean shit. You can't leapfrog over that and expect anything you say about your God to matter.
And that's the next thing atheists don't understand about God. God is so holy.
Ooh.
And I'll give you another illustration for God's holiness.
Thank you, but no. He's gonna tell us another long-ass story that feels like torture about a waitress who hawks a loogie into your water glass. It's one of the stupidest things I've ever heard, and while it's awfully silly, it won't do my response video any favors. Go watch it on his channel, link in the description.
But God does love you. He is a God of love. He's also a God of wrath and judgment. But he proved his love when he sent his own son on the cross to die for our sins.
And that was the only solution your God could think of. Really? This all-powerful, all-loving, all-knowing God somehow didn't have the problem-solving skills to say, well, shit, that didn't go well. Maybe I should just hit that reset button and get rid of all that sin, make the world all Eden-like again. Call me crazy, but that seems like a more efficient and less painful method of mending his mistake with that stupid apple. Don't you think?
If you believe that Jesus Christ died on the cross for your sins and rose again from the dead, he will give you new life.
Well, I don't. And I thought you said we don't go to hell for not believing, but now it sounds like you're saying we have to believe to be given new life. Which is it? Or is that a little bit of understanding peeking through? Are you realizing that belief really is necessary for us to not end up in hell?
I hope you've enjoyed this. I hope this clears up some understanding.
We understood this already. We've heard it all before 1,000 times and more. What needs to happen is for you to understand why these arguments are flawed, why these arguments don't work. Because they don't. And it's not because we don't understand them. You don't understand them. And you don't understand us. Until next time, fellow space travelers, this is BionicDance saying don't run on automatic. Instead, please think.
Attention citizens, failure to contribute will result in suspended oxygen privileges. Attention citizens, failure to contribute will result in suspended oxygen privileges. Attention citizens.
And remember, if it can't be in your hand, it's all in your head.